And finally, the match we all waited for, Gunther versus Sheamus. The rematch of their Donnybrook at the pay-per-view. And this wasn't as good because it was interrupted with commercials and it was a TV match and they weren't over there on the pay-per-view and in front of that rousing crowd of 60-something thousand. But as far as, I mean, you know, Sheamus tries. He's not a smooth worker, but he's tough and he's laying his shit in and he's trying. And Gunther is one of the 5 best talents in the industry today of any company. And this was at least a serious slobber knocker of a wrestling match. And, you know, I get the WWE crowd reacts to serious shit that, you know, people are laying shit in and not, you know, doing flips and not fighting with furniture. When they see it, they react to it and they like it. They just don't get the chance to see it often enough. But, you know, the problem with this match was only that it was on television. They start out with a fight. They go out to the floor and they're to the break within 60 seconds after the bell. So you can't really get your mind in it without the interruptions. You want to talk about the White Rabbit thing for a second?
Okay.
They did the more of the White Rabbit shit in this first break, where the video game music and the rabbit goes down in a hole. And I haven't seen almost any of this because I skipped the commercials and I skipped the shit that doesn't look like wrestling. So I haven't seen any of that. I've heard some of it, including, what do they call those codes that you scan with your phone?
A QR code?
Help, a QR code. Thank you. I knew you'd help me eventually. The first time I saw one of those, I was in Ring of Honor back in, 2011, and I was proofing one of the advertising posters. I said, well, the printer left this big goddamn black and white blotch in a square down here. Is that supposed to be a picture? They said, oh, no, you can scan it with your phone, and it does something. So they've been, I know for folks of our age group, ladies and gentlemen out there, well, gentlemen, I don't know about any ladies, that may sound stupid, but kids actually do shit like this these days. But that's where they've been giving all the cues out and everything, and apparently the fans will probably riot and set the seats on fire if the White Rabbit is not revealed to be Bray Wyatt on Extreme Rules later tonight that we're going to talk about at the end of this program, right? And that's the way they've been promoting his return, where you have to go out and you have to solve the mystery. It's like a scavenger hunt. You got to track down all the clues they're using the technology to give you, which basically means that people have to work to find out and solve the fucking mystery. Used to, we advertised shit right out in front of them in plain language that we wanted them to know, that we thought might enable them to spend some money with us. But now they're giving the fans homework to do to determine whether they want to see the show. You're younger than I am. Is this a good marketing strategy, ploy, whatever? Do the kids get into this kind of thing?
I think they do. I think it's gotten everyone talking and buzzing and guessing. People are probably more interested in this than they'll be in any of his matches. So I think it's good for that. And I do think a lot of people like, you know, there's a reason why games where you have to solve puzzles are popular. I think people do dig it.
Well, the last time that I was buzzing and talking and guessing, I'd sat down on a fire ant hill. So anyway, Gunther and Sheamus, they're still wrestling. And again, Gunther looks incredible physically. They had a serious fight. They laid shit in. I like the way Gunther works with anybody. And they even did the chop and forearm trade correctly, where they weren't standing there go, okay, you chop me and then I'm going to chop you on purpose and you're going to stand there and let me do it. They were 1-2-ing with body language and emotion, forearms and chops back and forth, boom, boom, boom. And then they went to another break. And they came back. And finally, Sheamus got the 10 broad arms in that Gunther had foiled before. And he actually did the 10 broad arms on each of all 3 ropes. And people were going nuts. And then Sheamus hit his finish off the second rope, got a 2 count. And Gunther hit a power bomb, got a 2 count, big pop. And then Gunther hit that splash off the top, another 2 count. And then came the point that I was like, what the fuck happened here? This whole thing's been cooking. They're getting the 2 counts. The people are into it. Sheamus gets a clover leaf. Gunther looks like he's trying to fight to the ropes. And suddenly the referee, the female referee, Jessica, she's right there on it. And suddenly Gunther with his left hand reached out and tapped the mat twice. And the people popped like he's tapping out. And then immediately she's on camera and she waves it off like, no, it's not a tap out. And then here come Imperium and Butch and Ridge Holland, and they get in a big fight at ringside. And while she's distracted, the referee, old Kaiser, slips Gunther the shillelagh, and he comes up and hits a clothesline with the shillelagh on Sheamus and covers him 1, 2, 3. But nobody understood. I don't understand. I can't even figure out what they were trying to do and didn't come across. He tapped out, did he not? What did you think?
Well, he only tapped twice. Technically, any match you've seen end, I started thinking about this. That's how stupid it is. Yeah. Usually you see at least 3 times.
Right.
He only did 2 and then he reached his hand up. Almost come on!
In the UFC, sometimes they might go out before they tap the 3rd time, but it's the tapping motion like that. But
it wasn't a choke.
It was almost like he wanted everybody to see it, but I don't know what the red herring was. Why? Because the fans in the arena thought that he had tapped out, and then when she waved it off and said he didn't, the fans started booing.
And now Sheamus can say, I tapped you out, and he could say, no, you didn't.
But he did. It wasn't like he tapped, but the referee was distracted, so he's trying to claim he didn't tap. He tapped, and the referee saw it, but said, no, that's not a tap. But it looked like a tap to the people. If he wasn't tapping, what was he trying to do? This is what I don't understand about this. The rest of the match was great. The finish, except for that particular incident, worked. But I don't know what the fuck they were going for or why that happened. You wouldn't think Gunther would be a guy that would forget where he was and just, reach out and start. I mean, if you watch tapes of matches from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, before tapping out became a thing, when a guy was in a submission hold, he would slap the mat constantly, portraying that he was in pain or in agony. Oh, boy, he's slapping the mat, trying to go to... And nobody thought a thing because there was not a visual tap-out rule in that era. In wrestling, there was no MMA. There wasn't a tap-out in wrestling. It didn't happen. That's a modern MMA development that has crossed over into wrestling. Did he forget he was in a submission hold and it would be taken as a submission if he tapped? I don't fucking know, but that looked out of place and was the only thing I couldn't figure out about this whole fucking match. But there you have that.
Yeah, and that was SmackDown. They gave it a lot of time, give them that.
Yeah, and it did. The match didn't get old, especially when they kept breaking it up in with commercial breaks, so they had time. I'm not arguing with anything about that match except what was that spot, and it took everybody's attention away and was the thing that people were talking about afterwards rather than the finish of the thing, the actual finish. I don't know. But you know what they say, Brian? We'll live to fight another day, and that's what we're going to do. Brian, you know what you should never do to a rabbit, white or otherwise?
What you should never do to a rabbit? I can't even imagine, no.
Don't shave them. Do not shave the little bunny rabbits. I'm telling you, it kills their self-esteem, first of all. Secondly, it takes away a lot of the cuteness of the little bunny. I have a little bunny family living here in the yard. And I see the big parent of the family running around quite often, and it would just look horrible without hair. But you know what doesn't look bad without hair?
What's that?
Guys. Have you not? Guys have hair everywhere. Hair in your nose, hair in your ears, hair in your crotch, hair in your taint, hair around the Hershey Highway, hair springing out of your knuckles, your goddamn kneecaps. There's hair everywhere on the backs of your toes. Well, the tops of your toes, I guess. It would be top and bottom instead of back and front on your. You got hair there, though. Most of you. We're quite a repulsive species, as a matter of fact, when you come to think about it, with all this hair growing out of you know what happens when you got excessive hair growth?
No, what's that?
That leads at moisture accumulation. And just like when you put a mulch bed around a tree, that's to keep the moisture in to feed the roots of the tree. The problem is the hydraulics and the mechanics and the biology and the crapology of men does not work like that. The more moisture you have around the trunk of the tree, it doesn't make that tree grow any bigger once you reach a certain age of maturity, is what I'm trying to say. So the whole thing is, we're a fucking mess. And summer is over now and fall is here. It is time to clean out the clutter. And that's why our friends at Manscaped can help, because they manufacture something to either eliminate or remove the hair or make the hair that you have smell better or make the places that you've removed all that swamp rot clutter smell better and feel better and are slicker. You don't want friction down there either, Brian. You don't really want friction on any part of your body. That can lead to matte burns and things of that. You don't want matte burns on your taint, do you? Have you ever had a matte burn on your taint, Brian?
I don't think I've ever been burnt on my taint, as you put it, no.
Well, it tain't pleasant, I'll tell you that. But folks, at Manscaped, they know what you can do for the fall. It's fresh ball fall, and that's why they've got the Platinum Package 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer, our favorite ever personal grooming product in the history of personal grooming products. They go all the way back, 70 or 80 years now. Boy, can you imagine what a stinky fucking place the Old West was? Try to go to one of those whorehouses in the Old West. Nobody shaved their shit back then. It wasn't until the 70s that we got with the program. So the Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer, the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, where you get all the hair out of your ears, so you can stick the Raycon premium wireless earbuds in there.
Well, you can't just combine the plugs. What are you doing?
Well, they're friends of ours, too. And then you got to get the hair out of your nose, because that way you can smell bullshit when it's being served up to you, because there's a lot of people in this country whose bullshit detectors have gone south on them, and they don't even know it. Then you could upgrade your shower routine with the Ultra Peep Premium Body Wash and the Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner. So it'll make the rough stuff slick. It'll make the stinky stuff smell good. It'll make your knees freeze and your liver quiver. Then the Ultra Premium Deodorant that's aluminum free, or as we say across the pond, aluminium. And they also throw in the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. You always need to tone your balls. Brian, every time you go to the gym, you get on the ball machine, you want to tone those balls up. The Crop Reviver does it without even having to stretch them and put those hooks in. And they'll throw in 2 free gifts to the Platinum Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag, that are both specifically made to hold your goodies. So right now, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code DRIVE. It ought to be the code SMELL GOOD instead of your stinky ass smelling now, like a man eating Fromunda cheese in a septic tank of a slaughterhouse.
Well, that's quite a long code. How's someone going to do that?
Well, just say the code is your stinky balls will smell better and not like a man eating Fromunda cheese in a septic tank of a slaughterhouse. Who can't remember that?
Who can't spell that?
20%. Well, it's not my fault you're illiterate. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code DRIVE.
And for the record, I'm literate.
Well, I'm a Methodist. That doesn't mean anything.
You're a meth head?
I didn't say that.
That's not what you said?
I went through the program. Anyway, speaking of programs, what are you doing while I'm shaving my crotch? What are you doing over there on the Arcadian Vanguard Network and the Wrestling News?
Oh, another action-packed week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Of course, get information about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. A few notes. As you just mentioned, Jim, the Wrestling News. Are you tired of wrestling news with spin, with bias? Guys getting phone calls from, I don't know, let's say Chris Jericho, and then they just repeat what he wants? Are you tired of that? Because some other people are too. We are too.
Was that a question to me? I've been tired of it.
Well, of course, we have a solution, and that is the Wrestling News. Free, daily, morning wrestling newscast with no opinion, no conjecture, no star ratings, just actual wrestling news. Check it out today at thewrestlingnews.com, or of course, access it wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News. And of course, want to mention a couple of other things. The latest Patreon episode of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry is out right now. Patreon.com/Baldwin and Barry. Alan Blackstock returns to the show to speak about UK wrestling history. Check it out once again, patreon.com/Baldwin and Barry, and check out Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! My house guests have no idea what's going on. Go through the archives today at 605pod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcast. Won't scream a second time. The Mothership.